What is the thought on synthetic versus non-synthetic, running it, say, not in a new engine, but in an old, stock 302?
What you want to run in your engine is, in my opinion, it's always synthetic.
I'm going to disagree with Donnie. I'm going to say no synthetic.
Really?
Not on the synthetics have so much like detergents that clean your engine while it's running that it's going to remove too much of the gunk and you're going to find oil leaks. Welcome back to the channel. Obviously, we're not in the garage today, shooting another episode of the Broncast. If this is your first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe, but also leave a comment below. If we're talking about anything that interests you, make sure to let us know in the comments down below. We'll answer your questions either on the episode or in a future episode. All right, here we go. Another episode of the Broncast. Welcome to another episode of the Broncast. How's it going, man?
Good.
What have you been up to?
Just building bodies, disassembling
building
a truck.
Building bodies. You're getting stronger.
Big muscles. Yeah.
I feel like
steel bodies. Hard bodies.
You and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Building Bronco bodies.
Yeah.
Early Broncos. Yep. Nice. I actually refurbished my back seat. Well, I didn't have a back seat in my 75, and my kids were always like, "Oh, we want to go on rides with you. We want to, go on drives and stuff like that." And I'd be like, "Oh, just hop in the back," and like they were like, "We're scared of this," because one time a cop was behind me, so I was like, "Kids, lay down." And so now they're like terrified. So I finally refurbished. I bought a back seat. Eric Wilkinson up in Michigan found me one. And I refurbished it and got it in the back of the Bronco. So now the kids can legally ride around with me, even though I have 3 kids and only 2 seats. But still, we all go for a ride now legally. So it's pretty fun.
Just strap the middle one to the other two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, share a seatbelt, kids.
That's right.
You're small. You have small waists. Or really what happens is the littlest one rides up front with her mom. So
yeah.
But yeah, what have you been, what else have you been working on? Anything fun?
Not much. I made a trip to Austin, hang out with my son and his girlfriend, and I was telling him all about the podcast, and he goes, "You're doing what?" I thought you were building Broncos. I go, "Yeah, but we want to share our passion." So
yeah,
this idea kind of came up, and she said, "Oh, you should call it, you guys are, if you're Zonkos for Broncos, then this podcast is for you." And I'm like, yeah, that pretty much sums up what we're doing here.
Zonko for Bronco.
That's right. So, John, did you hear about the Bronco that was built and auctioned and went for over $300,000 for an early Bronco?
Early Bronco?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think I told you about this one. So what I understand is a dealer built it a few years ago with one of the top builders. I don't remember which one it was. So he went all out. What would be like a $200,000 Bronco at the time, a couple of years ago, $210,000, something like that, and had it in his showroom for the entire launch of the new Bronco. And then everyone knew it was there, so he went and sold it, I believe, at Barrett-Jackson this spring. So it'd be spring of 2022, and it went for like $330,000. So it broke the $300,000 mark with a 302 automatic, nothing crazy, not a Coyote, not anything like that. So,
well, I think this one beats yours. When was this? Yeah. Let's see. Gateway Bronco built a first gen for Ryan Blaney's charitable foundation, and it was auctioned off at Barrett-Jackson for $650,000. I don't know if that's the record for an early Bronco, but
it's got to be.
Man, that is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, other than the Big Ole.
Oh yeah.
We don't count that one.
No,
so
I mean
it counts, but
it does.
It's not like something we could build.
I mean, it's pretty crazy how the prices of the early Bronco is going. Like, It makes me want to sell mine. But that's the reason that I'm building my 74 is so that I want to see like, hey, what can just a regular dude in his garage build and sell, and turn a profit? Can you turn a profit? So it'll be interesting to see if that happens on the YouTube channel, or if I'm just totally eat my profit and not make any money off of it.
I can't explain to people when we're trying to build bodies for them, and they're like, "Oh, am I going to spend too much? Is this going to be worth what I have in it?" Because you can build them 100 different ways. You can put a brand new chassis underneath it. I mean, you spend $90,000 on a rolling chassis, and then add the drivetrain. Coyote and Willwood brakes, and you can just go on and on with the axles and everything else. And but the reality is they aren't going down in value. So I think the appeal to the Gen 1 Bronco is it's I hate to say this, but like cute. Yeah. And I've heard it so many times. It's like, it's cool. Anyway, so it seems like half of the owners of the Gen 6s I see driving them are women. And I've got 2 builds going on right now that both guys are building them for their wives. This is really funny because they've had these trucks for years, but they never brought them home. They're in some pile somewhere in the woods, and they bring them in, and both guys said the same thing happened. I pulled it in. I was just trying to see if I could get it running because of what's going on with the Bronco. And their wives came outside. What's that? And I'm like, you're going to build that for me.
Oh,
and they just and these guys have to do it. Yeah. They don't have a choice.
Yep.
But it's just,
they get to build a Bronco.
Yeah. But I think this just has this cross gender appeal. It appeals to age groups. Like we were just talking about. How old is Carson?
18 or something.
Yeah. Spent his whole life, built a Bronco in like an early Bronco.
It was so cool. Yeah, he was on my YouTube channel when he was young, and he was like, hey, I draw Broncos for people and sell them to them to fund my Bronco build. And now he's 18 and he drives it around. He has another one. I think he has a 78 as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, the young kids are getting into it. The old, guys have been in it for years, and the women are getting into it. And yeah, it is a cool vehicle that brings us together. I wanted to talk about something that happened a few weeks ago. The 6th generation ordering opened for 2023. And there are a few changes that I thought were pretty interesting that I don't know if you knew about. In 2023, the Wild Track receives the Haas 3.0 system as its standard. So upgrade to the suspension there and steering rack and stuff like that. But sad day, Cyber Orange and Everglade sand, those colors are retired.
I didn't hear Everglade went away. I heard Cyber Orange did.
Yeah. I referred to a 4-door Bronco in Cyber Orange as a school bus.
Because school bus yellow.
Yeah,
orange.
It was totally school bus yellow.
Yeah.
But they called it Cyber Orange to be cool. That was retired, which like iconic, or the image in my mind of the Cyber Orange 2-door in Johnson Valley when the Bronco launched, like, that Bronco just going over jumps in Johnson Valley is burned into my head of what a Bronco is. So it's kind of sad that we were losing the Cyber Orange, but I don't think it was a very popular color. I don't see a lot of them on the road.
Well, you would never call a school bus orange.
No.
So, but they're going to come back with another orange.
True. Yeah, the new colors are azure gray and robin's egg blue. So, if you want to see those.
The robin's egg could be cool. One of the first colors for a 66 Bronco was peacock blue.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
It's kind of like a blue-green. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good one for sure. Anything else before we get into our DIY, PAY?
No, just, the G6 ordering. I know they're making they have to make a decision, I think, by the end of last month. They had to either convert to a 2023 or, and if you don't convert by the end of the year, like if you don't respond or turn in any information, you'll actually lose it.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah, they're now converting unfilled orders and trying to get you to switch over to, I mean, I would, why wouldn't you,
Yeah.
I did hear a really cool story the other day though. Guy ordered a Bronco 4-door, and what came in on his build order was not what he wanted, and it was a Raptor.
What?
Yeah, so he now has an eruption green Raptor 4-door, wow. And I think he already had an offer for like $25,000
oh my gosh.
over, and he didn't know what to do with it. He's just like, "Well, what's a Raptor?" We're like, it's amazing.
Wow.
The guy literally kind of won the lottery there.
Yeah, for real. That's amazing. Well, today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about engine basics on our DIY or PAY. And, we've been talking about kind of what to do with your early Bronco. So a lot of this is going to apply to the early Bronco. Some of it might apply to the different generations as well. I guess any Bronco, really Gen 1 through Gen 5, because this is all stuff that, you want to know, you want to do on your Bronco as you're, if you're just purchasing it new to you. Obviously, if you're purchasing a Gen 1, nothing is new, but new to you Bronco, or if it's gotten, handed down. We keep hearing these awesome stories of grandfathers and fathers handing down their Broncos, or, getting pulled out of a field. And I think that kind of stuff is so cool. So, first day maintenance on the engine. We're going to talk about a few things here. Oil change. We've been given the wrench animation for how many wrenches it takes to do some of these upgrades or some of this stuff. I think an oil change is totally a DIY. It shouldn't be a PAY. Do you agree?
Yeah, some people will change their oil, some people won't, but yeah, I think it's good for everyone to know how to change their oil. Do it at least once, but it's we'll rate that as a single wrench.
Yeah,
one
wrench.
Not too difficult, but if you're paying for oil changes, you should know what you're getting and at least walk through it. But yeah, and then we can talk about with oil changes. There's quite a bit to know about oil. So there's different kinds of oil. The new oils are synthetics or synthetic blends, and most people don't know what the difference is. Besides, it's twice as much money. It's $9 a quart instead of $4.50. But the difference is traditional petroleum-based oil. Oil has this property in it that allows it to lubricate, and it's called viscosity. And when things get so hot, you can burn that out of the oil, and then it loses its ability to lubricate your piston rings and your engine and your cylinder walls and things like that. Just like in transmission fluid, every time I would tow something really heavy and I had to go over the mountain passes and things like that, you're really hard on your oil and you're baking the oil essentially. So I would flush once a year or sometimes once after a really long, hard trip, and they would put new oil in, or new transmission fluid in the transmission. So oil, though, you can burn the viscosity out of it in your engine oil, and synthetic oil will run 100 to 150 degrees hotter before you reach that point. So that's the main reason to use a synthetic oil, is that you'd have to super overheat your engine to ruin that synthetic oil.
Wow, man. Okay, so here's a question for you. I know synthetic oil has a lot of additives that the regular oil doesn't have. What is the thought on synthetic versus non-synthetic, running it, say, not in a new engine, but in an old, stock 302? What are your thoughts on that?
Again, for me, it just comes down to that one thing. Can you mix oils? Can you whatever? Well, mixing 4 different oils to keep your engine from being without any oil if you have a major oil leak, well, that's probably the smarter thing to do. But what you want to run in your engine is, in my opinion, it's always synthetic. Because, if you're going to overheat an engine, you're going to change your oil, but what if you're stuck somewhere and you still got to run it? So you're just really protecting all of the metal parts that have friction.
I'm going to disagree with Donnie. I'm going to say no synthetic.
Really?
Not on a, like you're going to, so here's my old crotchety thought mechanic, is that you have all these old gaskets and old rubber in there, and the synthetics have so much like detergents that clean your engine while it's running that it's going to remove too much of the gunk, and you're going to find oil leaks. So that's my I run in my Bronco, I run conventional 10W30 and I add zinc in because it's a flat tappet camshaft. So,
well, some companies push the detergents and some don't. Yeah. So I'm a Mobile One guy.
You're a Mobile One synthetic guy.
Yeah.
I like it. I like how you roll. Well, we disagree.
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. But we both agree changing your oil should be a DIY.
Yeah.
On your Bronco.
At least one time.
Yep. All right. Moving on, new spark plugs and spark plug wires. Now, this is a great just upgrade to do, especially if you're getting into your engine for the first time. Like, you probably need new spark plugs. You don't know when they've been replaced. So it's an easy thing to do. And then spark plug wires definitely are not going to change the horsepower of your engine at all, but it's a good thing because you might have a crack in a spark plug wire that you can't see. And so it's just good to upgrade. So DIY or PAY on the spark plugs and spark plug wires.
Those are fun things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with that's one wrench.
Yep.
So don't buy wires that you have to build the ends, but you can buy wire kits from everybody. All the retailers have them.
Yep.
A 302 is a pretty common engine.
Yeah.
Or if you have the 6-cylinder, it's still pretty common.
Yeah. And if you're doing a fuel injection, I would definitely get a really good, good set of spark plug wires. I recommend the Ford Performance wires. And I have a whole YouTube video on what spark plug wires are the best. So check that out if you need to. But yeah, I'd say DIY on the spark plugs and spark plug wires. Air filter. What about air filter? This is a pretty easy, obviously, especially on the old 302s. It has that little blue air filter holder thing. So in the stock air filter is 8x3, I think, round filter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an easy upgrade to the 14x2, which is what I have, or the 14x3 air filter, and get rid of that blue container, because basically that, your air is trying to go into a hole that's, 2 inches by 3 inches. So get rid of that whole thing, get the 14x3 or 14x2 round air cleaner and hat for your carburetor and rock it that way is what I would say on your engine.
Well, a lot of people that want to keep their trucks super original, they'll have the oil bath, that the oil picks up all of the dirt and dust that's coming through, so that as the air passes through, if you're down some dirt road all day long, because that's all you got. But even those guys are not putting oil in those. Yeah. So Volkswagens had them too. Everybody had them back in the day. That was the technology of the day. That's funny. Yeah, you want your engine to breathe. So the more air it can get, the better. So
yeah, for sure. And that's, changing out your air filter, that's a one wrench. That's not too tricky.
Unless you drop the nut.
Oh, gosh.
The nut that goes on the top of the lid.
Drop it in the
Everybody
carburetor.
Drops that. And you're like, where the hell did that go?
Or drop it in the throttle body or carburetor. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Valve cover gaskets. I think this is one that, and even valve covers, this is one that everyone should pretty soon upgrade, because we talked about in a previous episode about oil leaks. Most of your oil leaks are probably coming from your valve covers. So, go ahead and change your gaskets as well. And I would say this is a very rewarding 1 to 2 wrench job. 2 wrench just because you might be intimidated by it. It's super easy though. So 1 wrench, but it looks intimidating, right?
Yeah, and it is. We're not talking about Gen 6 trucks here. We're talking about 302 V8s or inline 6s, and it's super rewarding because you can get it off with however many nuts are on there. I forgot.
6 or 5
or 12 or whatever.
Yeah,
and you take it off, and you can clean that thing, and you can respray it Ford blue.
Yep.
Or you can buy a chrome one from Holly or another company. You can get one that says Bronco on it, the aluminum ones. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
And then put it on there and be really proud of what you did. And really all it does is it keeps the oil that's oiling the valve train from splashing all over the engine. It's just a lid, like Tupperware, but it's got usually a cork gasket, but you can pull those off, clean them, put them on, and but they're commonly leak. Those gaskets bake over time, and you'll have oil literally dripping down the sides of your engine, and you don't want that. You can clean up your engine while you're at it, but that's a absolutely super rewarding, easy thing to do.
So DIY on valve cover gaskets. Now moving down, carburetor maintenance. That one, I don't know. Carburetor for some reason to me is a little bit like speaking another language.
You're going to like this. That falls under another category we call BUY.
Yeah. Just buy a new one.
Just go buy another carburetor. They're like $200-$300 and they're already, you can order them based on, do you have a stock cam, a mild cam, whatever.
Yeah.
And it
comes pre-tuned.
Yeah. Holly has made carburetors forever. I'm going to shamelessly plug Holly here, but for the money, you literally take that one off, put it on your shelf with all the other ones.
Right. I have 3 on my garage floor.
There you go. Yeah. So that's a BUY.
BUY. Yeah. So you're going to pay for that one. I agree with you. Now there's a lot of guys who would say otherwise, but for us and for the purpose of this, I'm going to say pay. Battery, you're moving down, looking through your engine. Battery is an important part of the engine. This is one of those things like you need good voltage to run your Bronco. So I would look at your battery. I don't know if you knew this, but you can actually tell, if you just buy a Bronco and you've never seen it before and you're looking at the battery, you can tell the age of the battery by there's usually a letter and a number. And the letter is usually the month. So it's the first 12 letters of the alphabet usually. And then the number is the last day of the year. So let's say if you had M0, then it would be a November 2020 battery. So it's like 2 years old, and so you probably only have a year left on it because batteries don't last more than 3 years.
Or it's 1990, which is why it won't start at all. Yeah.
That is true. On these old trucks, you never know what you're getting into. Yeah.
Batteries, I think a lot of people's expectation is, I've had this car 4 or 5 years, or this Bronco had a new battery 4 or 5 years ago. Why is it not starting? There must be something wrong with the engine. But realistically, 3 years is a good expectation. And you can buy batteries with extended warranties and longer life. But honestly, if a truck won't start on the first cold day, it's the battery. The car, truck, whatever, just assume it's the battery, go get it checked out, or just buy another one for $150.
Yep. Well, that's good. That was just some basics, engine maintenance for day one of having a new Bronco or really any vehicle. I mean, that's stuff that you can work on. There will definitely be more in the future, but we're going to move along from our DIY or PAY.
Well, you got this email, very simple. It says, why is ARP a podcast sponsor?
I love how people just get to the point.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck is that?
Questions at thebroncast.com. If you want to ask us a question, please do. But we felt like this was fitting. Apparently, we haven't done a good job of explaining why ARP is a sponsor.
So ARP is a manufacturer. They make fasteners, which are nuts and bolts. And we don't like to talk in terms of just nuts and bolts because it's really a big deal. They've been around since the 60s, drag racing. They've been part of making increased horsepower for 50 years, 60 years. And it's just amazing. You know, I love one of their taglines. It's like, when failure is not an option. But I did get to go to Bonneville last September and saw them run their Speed Demon car, which is a piston engine powered car. It's LS powered, and it goes almost 500 miles an hour. Yeah, it's just amazing. It's not it's running with the turbine jet engine cars. I mean, it's incredible, and it's held. That engine stays together with ARP fasteners, head bolts, things like that, and that's head studs. That's what people think of as the company, but they do way more than that. I couldn't do them justice talking about metallurgy. I'm sure I'd get it wrong, but you know, if you email them or go to their website, they'll send you a catalog, or you can see this information on their website. They have like 24 pages of fastener tech that you can learn. Like, and it's, some of it's as basic as the bolt grades, you know, grade 5, you know, and grade 8, things like that. And you can go through and you can learn all of that. But those 24 pages are amazing. It talks about metallurgy, materials that they have, like 8 different materials that high strength materials that make bolts of, that make them way stronger than anything you buy at the hardware store or even the auto parts store. So like some of their bolts, you know, that hold your engine together, got a turbocharger and things like that. You know, they can be $400 for a set, you know, instead of $100 for a set. Well, you know, it's, the difference is how much horsepower compression you're going to put into that. And so other things they have is, you know, they talk about bolt failure on the website and in their catalog, and bolt fatigue, and why would you spend $400 for a set of head bolts, but you don't want to be pulling your engine out and rebuilding it again because you bought some cheap bolts.
Right.
So, but they make other stuff. They make accessory bolts. When we get into our engine portion of the show and we start talking about rebuilding 302s, we have 2 302s coming in that we're going to completely disassemble in the shop and rebuild as like a spec Bronco engine. You know, they're not going to make a ton of horsepower, maybe 280 horsepower, but they're going to be completely built with ARP fasteners because we know when it leaves, it's not going to have a bolt failure.
Yeah. And I never knew about how bolts stretched, you know, and stretched over time and stuff like that. And so learning that stuff, you realize, oh man, when you're dealing with such tight tolerances like on your engine, how important it is that you don't have a cheap bolt that's stretching. But even on your suspension, like I've noticed, I've been, you know, as I'm doing this Bronco build, I've been using the old bolts to initially like tighten things, stuff like the radius arm caps. I'll use the old bolt to drive through the radius arm cap to kind of suck it together. And then once it's all sucked together, then I'll pull the old bolt out and put a new bolt in, just so that I'm not stretching those threads on that bolt as I'm, you know, initially cranking it down and tightening it down. So there's stuff like that. But even with ARP, you don't have stretch. You don't have this stuff, you know, even with a grade 8 bolt, you have, you know, it'll stretch, and with ARP, it just doesn't. And that's cool.
If you think about it, your entire Bronco is put together with fasteners. Bolts. But still, the entire, so, you know, if it's important to you that it doesn't come apart or a bolt doesn't break, you know, that's why you would spend more on a good bolt. So, or fastener. But yeah, we're going to be covering a lot more of that in future episodes.
So that's kind of our parts corner as well today, because ARP is our parts to call out on our parts corner, and also it's our question, our Q&A. So definitely check out www.arp-bolts.com. That's www.arp-bolts.com.
John and I would like to spend a little time demystifying the U13, U14, and U15 designation of the early Bronco, because they didn't really do it anymore after that.
Right.
But I have some things I like to refer to as an easy way to remember these. For starters, on my gas cap on my Gen 6, I just open it up, and that's how I can remember, because there's a little picture of the 3 trucks under the gas lid with a picture of each. You know, the U13 was an open roadster No doors, no metal doors, no metal roof. It was like a ranch hand.
Yeah.
Literally, it's kind of like that's what it was. It was a no frills truck,
which was probably pretty similar to like the Willys, the Jeep Willys.
It's the market they were going after.
Yeah.
It was like, let's keep it super simple and as inexpensive as possible to go directly head to head with the Willys. And but I remember the U13 as being the unlucky truck that didn't get anything.
Yeah.
You know, it got these door openings.
I think that's probably what we would call like a base model today, like just the base Bronco.
It's even more base than base. Yeah. You could get it in colors though. It didn't only come in like white.
Yeah, and I think one of the I want to say one of the most rare, one of the rarest Broncos is a U13 66. With like Wimbledon white with the silver bench seat. Like that's kind of the quintessential like rarest of the rare kind of thing. But
I think what's interesting is even though it didn't have a back seat, it didn't have a roof. They did put the partition wall in there because they assumed you were going to use it like a pickup truck.
Oh yeah.
So it was a bench seat with the wall, and I mean that was it. You could order a whole vinyl roof with vinyl doors. And as a matter of fact, in Todd Zurcher's book, there's a picture of one that's white with the white vinyl roof. And the windows are tiny. It looks like a postal truck.
That's cool.
But yeah, there was pretty much no options. Bronco.
No frills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the U13.
Yep.
And then almost everyone today has a U15, which is what they call the wagon. It has the full metal roof. You could order a back seat as an option. There were lots of things that you can get with that. They had different trim levels. The Sport had all the chrome and the trim. And I just remember the U13 had nothing. The U15 had everything. And in the middle was the U14 or the half cab. So I figure it's like halfway in between.
Oh, yeah.
So U14 has got like half a roof.
It. Yeah.
Got half the options.
Uh-huh.
So it's in between the 13 and the 15.
Yeah, that's a great way to remember it. I've always forgotten. Like, I can't ever remember which is which, but now you say that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Or just open up someone's gas cap on their Gen 6. And
there it is.
Their pictures.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, I think... U13 through U15. I wonder, there's so many options, so many things that you could have gotten through all the Bronco options and the things that you could have bought. Like I was hearing once, you could buy, they called it, you could buy a snow plow on it. You could buy, like just so many cool options that people would sell. They actually would run because when the Bronco first came out, I think it was the inline 6 and a 289 V8. Did it come with but anyway, they would ship them to other countries. And when they would actually, it would be a modified engine that could handle a lower octane of gas.
Oh, wow.
And so there was an extra in the VIN, there's an extra number before the engine code or after the engine code. So it's like U15 G6L or, something like that. Like, and really interesting options that just, you could get with these different vehicles and they're popping up here and there today, and it's like, I'm in some of these Facebook groups where people will talk about it and they're like, I've never seen a VIN number like this, and so just this rare stuff that's coming out. That's super cool.
We have a future episode to look forward to where we do VIN decoding. And John and I were just looking at all this stuff and we found something really cool, and it was under the DSO and what all those letters mean, where the trucks were shipped to, and some of the places were pretty cool. So we're going to save that. We're not going to give that away. But I do have like pricing information from 1966. So in 66 and 67 in the Bronco lineup from U13 to U15, I remember, they call the one the Roadster, and it was, like we said, targeted directly at the CJ5. So no doors, no roof. It was $2,336.82.
Wow.
And only 4,000 were made.
Hmm.
So, and then, U13s, like I said, it's easy to remember.
Yep.
It's bad luck if it rains.
Yeah.
Lots of ways to remember that. And then U14 was the half cab, or what they called the sports utility. So I think that's cool because it's really the first SUV.
Yeah.
And they referred to them because of that front axle, that they were super sporty to drive. It was your off-road Mustang, Love all that marketing.
Wow.
So it was $2,479.93. So, which was, really only $143 more in today's dollars. So that was for 2 metal doors and a roof, a half cab roof. So I felt like that would have been a really good use of $143. Yeah. And then the U15 wagon, those were $2,551.19, only $88 more than the half cab. So the metal would cost more than that.
Oh yeah, totally. And you got a rear bench seat. You got, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So the full roof or wagon, rear seat. So the marketing pitch to buy a Bronco over the competition was that Ford, I thought this was interesting. Ford had 6,400 dealers nationwide. And International Harvester, the Scout, had 4,764 dealers nationwide. But they were all like implement dealers. They really sold tractors. Yeah. So do you really want those guys working on your Bronco? Yeah. They probably worked on everyone's pickup trucks anyway, because, ag dealers were the nearest thing nearby. And then there was a number here, 2,152 CJ5 dealers in the U.S. in 1966. So if we want to talk about some options too, one option was a rear bench seat, or 2 low back bucket seats for the front instead of a bench in the front. And what's cool is in the first Broncos, those seats came right out of Mustangs. Yeah. They even had, some of them had the horses on them and the panel behind your back. Yeah, I would love to get a set of those.
Well, it's interesting because some of the early, 66, 67 seats, the stripe goes horizontally, and then it switched and it started going vertically. Mm-hmm. So you can see the stripe on the seat change from horizontal to vertical. I don't know if that's official, but that's just something I've noticed.
I understand when it went vertical, they were officially Bronco seats.
Oh, really?
Bronco got its own seats. Okay. I mean, Bronco got the bed from the F100. Yeah. They had to just, it was the stepchild of the Ford Motor Company.
Totally.
It's now it's their probably most expensive car next to a GT40. Something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So chrome bumpers were an extra $28.75. I think they're still a value. I think you can get a set of chrome bumpers for like $300 or something like that. Wow. Maybe $400.
Yeah.
I still think that's one of the easiest upgrades you could do to your early Broncos. Totally. Buy some new bumpers.
Yeah.
Hubcaps were almost as much as a bumper, $22.48. And that red rocker stripe you were talking about, $12.50.
Wow. That's crazy. Crazy. Well, a little Bronco history there for you guys. But that's it. That's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate having you guys with us on the podcast. And a special thanks to our sponsors, ARP and Tom's Off-Road. Man, if you guys have any questions, make sure to leave a question for us either in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, or shoot us an email at questions@thebroncast.com. That's questions@thebroncast.com. Donnie, thanks for having us in your shop, man.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Every week.
Yep.
Let's do this again next week.
Sounds good. All right. We'll see you next time.